Hi, it's Joe Mazumdar, Exploration Insights at the Metals Investment Forum, the pre-PDAC edition in Toronto. And with me right now is Caleb Stroup. Caleb, he's the president and CEO of Headwater Gold, and Headwater Gold is a grassroots exploration program focused in on the Great Basin area of the Western U.S. And I guess from the outset, what were you trying to do with the idea with Headwater?
Well, so from the beginning, we were focused on the early stage part of the exploration game, primarily because our goal is to make new, fundamentally significant discoveries in a great jurisdiction. Yeah, exactly. Right. I'm often asked, well, why don't you just find a nice high-grade epithermal vein and then you just continue drilling? Well, it's because the good veins that have been found are mined; they're not still around. And so to find new deposits like that, you need to do the early work to develop the targets and test new ideas. Yeah. And that's what we've done from the beginning.
And there's actually a recent example, like I was there with some of your guys from Headwater. We did the visit with AngloGold to the Silicon project, and that is also a low sulfidation epithermal system in Walker Lane that seems to be growing significantly. And so there's a lot more fervor about Walker Lane, and it might be harder to get projects now than it was before.
Yeah, I think so. But using that sort of same philosophy, that was a blind deposit,
that was absolutely
blind to surface. Yeah. Doing good geology at surface, recognizing the right alteration, then testing your concepts. Yeah. So that sort of stuff is still available or still around to be tested. There's more activity for sure, but we've been able to put together a bunch of great projects sort of in the same time period where they were making that discovery, and we're following a pretty similar exploration model.
And I guess the big thing is that, retail investors can be in and out of exploration stories, and you need that drill hole for the next raise. But you managed to organize a funding deal with a major that sort of takes you out of that, let's say, vicious cycle.
Yeah, so was always another fundamental component of our business model, is just as you said. It's a tough game. Exploration's risky, especially early stage stuff. So when you're putting all your eggs in one basket and trying to raise all the money yourself and diluting the company as a result, there's challenges there. So the approach we decided to take was what we call a hybrid approach between the traditional junior explorer that raises money and drills holes, but also with a component of more of a project generator type business model arm bolted onto that, where we attract great partners like Newcrest to fund exploration concurrently with our 100% exploration. And that balances out that risk profile in terms of the dilution risk, the financing risk. And, we don't have to raise money to keep news flow going because we have all that baseline activity funded by Newcrest.
And Newcrest is on 4 projects, and there's a minimum expenditure on them, right?
Yeah. That's right. It's $8.5 million US across the 4 projects, and so we're not even about halfway through that yet.
Right. And on the other side is that because you're the operator right now, you gain those management fees. It almost covers your entire G&A.
Yeah, so far it pretty much does. So we collect 10% on the exploration that they fund, and then any money that we have or raise can go directly into our 100% funded exploration.
And then speaking of which, you just recently raised money, and that money has been raised for your 100% owned projects that you did a first pass drill of, and you thought that this was worth a second phase, and you did not want to put it into the joint venture.
That's right. So that's the Katy project, where we kept out of the earning agreements, specifically because it's a great looking target, near surface, easy to test, low cost, and it fits all of our technical criteria. We only were able to drill 2 holes in there in the first program, one of which hit a high-grade feeder structure that remains to be followed up along strike. So yeah, we raised that $2.7 million. We now have about $4 million available to fund exploration. That's going to be a big component of it.
And so in terms of back to the joint venture, one of the bigger programs is Spring Peak.
Yep.
So Spring Peak is near, was it a Borealis?
Aurora. Well, it's kind of between Aurora and Borealis. Yeah.
And those were low sulfidation epithermal, high grade, and like sinters right at surface. And you drilled below it, and you made that discovery. I think it was last year, and then based on that, you did more drilling with the Newcrest joint venture and hit even better grades.
Yeah, no, exactly. So Aurora, the historic Aurora district, produced a couple million ounces of very high grade out of veins, epithermal veins, just like we're looking for. The key is it was eroded down into the veins, and they were discovered in the old days by the old timers. Spring Peak is immediately adjacent to it, underneath a preserved alteration cap, kind of like silicon. And we recognize there's a ton of potential underneath that alteration cap. Went in there, as you say, initially drilled just 5 early stage scout holes and had one really good hit. That really caught Newcrest's attention. We got them in there. And then we just completed a diamond core drilling program out there, 10 holes following up that had some pretty great results. We just announced the rest of those yesterday.
Right, yeah. And then like the other one that interests me as well was Midas North. So a big property package. And one of the advantages of having a funded program like that, you can do a lot of things that people don't interest maybe retail investors, like geophysics, soil sampling, all that sort of stuff to generate drill targets. And you can spend that time because you're not worried about going back to the market with respect to generating drill targets.
No, that's right. So that Midas North project is a massive alteration cell, similar near paleo surface alteration that, sort of masks the high grade underneath, but we think there's good potential. And the best way of a project of that scale to de-risk it and, generate high probability drill targets is to spend some money in early stage geophysics. That can be difficult for a junior to go raise $500,000 and spend it without drilling a meter. But with a partnership like Newcrest, we can throw all the best tools at it, come up with the best possible drill targets for the maiden drill program that'll test those targets. And so really de-risks it.
And then you also get their technical support with their
right.
geophysicists and people like that have seen that before.
Yep.
And what interests me is what you told me before is that what Newcrest's interest in Nevada was to look for potentially lower tonnage but higher grade epithermal deposits that as opposed to the 5 million ounce sort of size deposit that you drill 3 holes and if it's not there, it's not there. They're more keen on these smaller ones.
Yeah, so that seems to be a focus for them, especially right now in the western U.S. And it seems that, they've always had high-grade vein deposits in their production profile. Mm-hmm. And I think that is a motivating factor for them to find more of these to perhaps offset some of these bigger, higher CapEx projects with easier to build, cheaper to build, shorter lead time, high-grade deposits.
And they don't really have a footprint in that part of the world, in this part of the world, in sort of the Southwest U.S.
Yeah, Southwest U.S., not so much. And I think that was one of the motivations for partnering with a group like ourselves that has a lot of technical expertise and experience in the Western U.S. And, just from the first, 6 to 9 months as a public company, we sort of demonstrated our ability to execute on the ground, both, in a technical way, but also just in an operational way. It's, we were running 4 drill programs all over the place, and there's a learning curve with that too. So I think we help them scale their exploration. Yeah,
permitting, grouse mating seasons, and everything like that. No,
we have a pretty good handle on all of those things, how to make all that work, and I think that helped us.
Because you're based out of Reno.
Yeah, right. And our whole technical team, for the most part, is based in Reno as well.
Okay, so for somebody that's looking at Headwater right now, decent valuation, funded programs coming up, recently raised money. So what could we expect with respect to news flow right now?
So yeah, we're just beginning to enter a very busy time period for this coming drill season. We talked about raising money for Katy. That'll kick off early summer here. But even before that, as soon as the snow melts, we'll be out on Midas North. It will probably be the first program we drill.
Because that's lower elevation.
It's a little bit lower elevation and easier to get into. So sometime in Q2, we're looking to kick off that one. And then Spring Peak, the final results just went out yesterday. So
and
now
this is from last year's drilling?
This is from last year's drilling. We finished up in December. We drilled all the way through December. And so there's still some lead time issues with the laboratories.
So what is the assay turnaround times that you're dealing with?
It varies, but still 1 to 2 months is not uncommon. Yeah.
Well, that's another reason, another positive about having this sort of funding. You don't have to go back to the market now. You're not waiting for an assay.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, and you're not rushing anything. You're just doing all the holes at once?
We rushed 1 hole that we put out in early January.
Right.
That was the deepest hole.
Yeah. And that's what you needed to do to support the program.
Yeah, well, the reason we rushed that one is, to get the deepest and most consequential hole that we thought was going to demonstrate it was open at depth and along strike, and to get that out so that we could begin starting to scope out a program for this year. And now the rest of them are in, so the full picture is there, and we're working on a plan for a full program that'll be hopefully
Like
significantly, significantly larger drill program.
Okay,
this
so
year.
Spring Peak drilling, and then Midas North, I guess, results. Drill targeting, and then summer drilling. Is that the plan?
Well, I think we'll be putting out the final drill targets for Midas North pretty soon, and I think we'll be able to kick off in Q2, actually drilling.
So do you have a rough estimate of how many meters you're going to be drilling, partner funded and yourself?
So that's something we're working on even this week with everybody in town here, trying to scope that out. We're working on drill contracts as well.
Because each program will have its own, or are you going to move the rigs around?
A combination of both. Spring Peak, we're looking at 3 rigs right now. And then we'll have probably 2 more rigs elsewhere. So 5 rigs is what we're trying to get lined up for the summer. It'll be busier.
Which is pretty good for a company of your size.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Caleb.
Yeah, thank you.
That was Caleb Stroup, the president and CEO of Headwater Gold, exploring for gold with a major producer as a joint venture partner and some of its own ground, which looks to be fully funded. So lots of catalysts coming up. So this is Joe Mazumdar, Exploration Insights at the pre-PDAC Metals Investment Forum edition. Thank you very much for listening.